About the news coming from David Benavidez, aka El Monstro, aka the Monster, aka El Bandana Roja, aka the Mexican Monster. You know what I'm talking about? So, man, this man got a lot of nicknames, man. He's starting to become like Shaq. You know what I'm talking about?
From this day on, I would like to be known as Shaq. I'm Wilt Chamberlain, the big Aristotle.
The Green Monster? That's a good one. Shaq Adams. The big Shamrock.
The big Aristotle.
From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold, we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.
Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Dr. PG, NG Empress. Gotta get money back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. The doctor's in the house. Y'all know what it is, man. Welcome to the channel. We got some big news today coming out of the Benavidez camp, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a crazy day, you know? There's been a lot of talk. We just saw the press conference from Canelo, it was a Canelo and Munguia, their launch press conference, but it was funny because they ended up talking more about Benavidez at the end. There's bigger news about that. So, so let's talk about it right now. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the news coming from David Benavidez, aka El Monstro, aka the Monster, aka El Bandana Roja, aka the Mexican Monster. You know what I'm talking about? So, man, this man got a lot of nicknames, man. He's starting to become like Shaq. You know what I'm talking about? The big Aristotle. But yeah, so the first news is that, of course, it's funny because I was talking about in the last video how he's been pretty respectful, as far as dealing with Canelo in reference to Canelo. And, even though Canelo sees it as being disrespectful, but I would say that most of the disrespect mostly coming from Jose Benavidez Sr., which is his father, and his manager, Samson Lukowicz, or whatever, how you pronounce it, Lukowicz. That's where the disrespect really stemming from. I feel like David Benavidez, in regards to Canelo, has been fairly respectful. He could be more disrespectful, especially if he feels like Canelo's actively avoiding him. But it's just funny that I say that, and then the news comes out today that David Benavidez said, "How do you say I have nothing to offer you, but then you want 200 million to fight me?" He said, "Man, hopefully after that 150 million or 200 million, hopefully you have some left over. You can buy you a pair of nuts."
And I'm cool with it. Suck my brother nuts. Huh?
So he said Canelo ain't got no cojones, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's just funny, but he's just talking trash back because someone, any man, if someone talks trash to you, any man gonna stand up for himself. So I don't see nothing wrong with that. That's number one. Number two, once again, like I said in the video yesterday, I don't think that Canelo means that David Benavidez has nothing. He's just saying he has nothing specifically to offer him, because I believe Canelo's right. I stand behind that because Canelo, as far as boxing resume goes, Canelo is the one with the trilogy. What? He's the one with the undisputed championships. What? He's the one with the Hall of Famers on his boxing record. You know what I'm saying? So as far as boxing resume goes, he has more accomplishments and more accolades in relative to David Benavidez, and that's what I think he means when he says he has nothing to offer him. Like, David Benavidez needs Canelo, not the other way around. With all these accusations of ducking and him avoiding Benavidez, Canelo's like, hold on now, I'm not the one that needs Benavidez. I've done everything I want in the sport. I don't need Benavidez. So they could both be right, and Benavidez is like, hey man, I have something to offer. That's why you want so much money, and that's why you think you can get so much money for fighting me, because I earned my spot, you know what I'm saying, which is, he is right too. So that's just that. I just want to talk about that, whatever. And David Benavidez saying Canelo, old cinnamon, he out there with just a stick, talking about he ain't got no nuts. No huevos. So yeah, so I'm looking so then, in addition to that, we have some more news, man, which I think is very interesting. And we called this back in a couple weeks ago, was that potentially David Benavidez and Gervonta Davis or Abdul Wahid could be on the same card, and that'd be fire, man. I feel like that card will blow up. It'll be David Benavidez versus Alexander Vazdik, and of course Tank versus Frank, man. With Tank versus Frank, I think that's a great matchup. I think Frank Martin is going to provide what everybody says that Tank has been missing, a slick fighter on his resume. So Frank Martin is definitely that slick fighter, definitely a good fighter. So I think people are downplaying this matchup because they don't know boxing typically, which is typical of casual fans. And then not only that, Vazdik I think is a good matchup too, even though Vazdik, he hasn't really been active, but he had a close fight with Artur Beterbiev. And yeah, and then Dave Benavidez will be moving up. In addition to that, I want to say shout out to Adonis Stevenson, because Alexander Vosnik has beat Adonis Stevenson. I believe it was an 11th round knockout. And for those of you who don't know Adonis Stevenson, he was a champion at light heavyweight, Haitian-born, Haitian and Canadian. And yeah, he had to undergo brain surgery, man. So shout out to him. I saw that he was recovering pretty well, and I wish him the best, man. So I say boxing is a dangerous sport, man. So people could talk all that trash about people ducking and being scared and all that stuff, man. And we want this fight, we want that fight, but you gotta, I know a lot of them are rich, but not all of them are rich, and not all of them are compensated well. But even despite that, whether you're rich or not, your welfare is very important, man. It's a dangerous sport. We see a lot of people get hurt and even killed, So yeah, I just want to say shout out to Adonis Stevenson. Alexander Vosnik just reminded me of that. And then lastly, so I think that card will be phenomenal, man. Tank and then Benavidez on the same card. Tank and El Monstro. Oh man, that'll be fire. And then last news is David Benavidez said, "Don't be surprised if this fight happens in September." So meaning that he's still hopeful for the Canelo fight. Not only that, I think it means one or two things. So number one, people are saying that obviously Canelo likes to be respectful with his opponents and stuff like that. And people say, oh well, Caleb Plant disrespected him, which is infamously, slapped him and all that good stuff. But people don't realize that you got to tell the full story. Caleb Plant talked trash to Canelo once the fight was already signed. You know what I'm saying? So he's just doing it to build up the fight, which makes sense. So Canelo is pretty consistent there. He doesn't like the disrespect or, take him longer to have the fight. So that's number one. But but also too, in addition to that, to compound that, like I said, David Benavidez has been pretty respectful. So the fact that he's talking a little more now, maybe it could be him doing his part to build up the fight, and it could happen soon. That's number one. But the flip side of that, number two, is that remember sometimes the A side, the bigger fighters, they like to be the ones that announce the fights. So hopefully he's not announcing it prematurely and Canelo gets mad, because you remember what I believe it was Floyd and Amir Khan. Amir Khan has said that he had to fight with Floyd, but that he regrets announcing it first. And Floyd was like, nah, bro, you don't announce nothing first. I'm the big dog. I make decisions. So then he called off the fight just to be petty. So hopefully it's nothing like that, man. But I appreciate y'all rocking with me as always. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button as always, man. Remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we are nothing. Y'all be easy. Peace. Say bye to Kimba Bandit. Kimba Bandit. They chillin'.
From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.